This podcast contains descriptions of extreme violence, body horror, and adult language. Please check the description for details. Viewer discretion is advised. And you see the various people passing you by. You're close enough to the center that there is enough of a bustle around here that it's not hard to run into somebody. It never really is, though, in this city. With how densely packed this place is, it might as well be a hive. It's closer to one, after all. There's so many buildings built on top of one another, and they rise up so high and block so many angles of sunlight that even at what is closing into midday, as it is right now, the light filtering in just barely adds a quality of, just the barest quality of warmth to the ambient light, which, more often than not, just brings up a lot of smells and makes the place just a little bit more sickly. Yeah, the people passing you by don't really give you any attention or mind, as some random fucker with their legs cut off is kind of a common sight in this city.
Yeah, Vex gave up on being embarrassed about it some time ago, I feel. And something interesting, too. As she crawls along, the wound is definitely oozing blood as it goes, but not as much as you might think. It is starting to already kind of patch itself up, and the veins around the wound, as well as in various other parts of Vex's body, are just bulging as her heartbeat seems to pick up speed and intensity, almost as though it's picking up the slack a little bit. Her eyes continue to just, have that hazy, glowing red color to them, and it's it isn't fun, but she, whenever she, hits a point where, the pain is getting to her, or it's just an aggravating, crowd of people in front of her that she needs to wait in order to crawl past, she reaches down to something on her person, in her pack at her side, and just holds her hand there for a moment before continuing on. And it takes probably quite a while, but she does crawl all the way to the delivery point.
Oh, to the oh, ballsy. Right, well.
Yeah, no, she's gonna go there first.
It is not without some reflection on the fact that you very nearly lost that item. It's very much kept in a place that, with the way that slash was coming in, that was going for your gut, and that with how razor sharp those claws were, it wouldn't have stood a chance. It would have just torn straight through it. Losing a leg and a bit of dignity is nothing in comparison to losing that. But yeah, you start dragging yourself along, occasionally making use of your scythe blades to just kind of hook yourself over a local railing or some such to just get a little bit of head height off of the floor where there is just various filth and vermin. But yeah, you make your way, and it's a fairly unassuming building. You thank the fucking whatever gods above there are, which are likely none at this point, that the delivery spot is a shop front, or the back of a shop front, and you don't have to scale any stairs. And yeah, I imagine you just knock on the back door or something.
Yeah, the knock weirdly lower on the door than usual. Yeah.
The door opens up, and you see a man of the description that you were given. He was clearly expecting you to arrive at some point today. He's generic enough that it's not worth describing, but he looks down at you and goes, "Oh, jeez."
Don't worry about it. Here, she just waves the package up with one hand.
Yeah, it's this kind of, it seems to be some kind of composite material that this thing is made out of. Pretty hardy, pretty typical for the high-level kind of production facilities that Section C tend to have access to. You kind of hold it up to him, and he, still looking at you, reaches out his hand to grab it and goes, "Yeah, thanks. You gonna be all right?"
She doesn't answer, but instead of immediately handing over the package, sort of like holds out her other hand, like, expectantly.
Oh, right, yeah. He just pulls out his pulls out a wallet and takes out a wad of cash and slings it into your lap. That is, of course, one of the two favor you got earlier. Slings it into your lap, which is worse for wear. And he goes, "We good?"
Yep. She stuffs it into her pack. I imagine she can tell at this point that that's, the right amount and all that just by looking.
Yeah,
and,
like you're familiar enough with receiving stacks of cash that you just flip through them and just see the numbers are all right and feel the weight and you know it. It's correct.
And she sets down the package next to him. If nothing else is needed, then yeah.
Bends down, grabs it, and the concern he was showing not but a moment ago dissolves as he just slams the door behind him. Very clearly, it was a "you gonna be alright" more in the sense of "is my package alright?" You're left in the back alley.
She's more than used to it. She takes a moment sitting there to just catch her breath, but then, she'll start crawling again, at least having gotten rid of the package now. Mm-hmm. Heading towards, you can probably guess.
Right, well, while you were crawling there, would you do me a favor and would you give me a little bit of a description of what Vex looks like, as she is quite quite undignifiedly dragging herself through the streets?
Yeah, Vex is fairly average height and build for the most part. Long and lithe, but also very muscular and honed limbs. She wears just this ragged and dark clothing, very utilitarian, nothing flashy. She has a long hooded cloak that reaches most of the way down her body, but at a certain point starts becoming more just torn and ragged than it is intact. She wears several belts and packs around her waist that hold various personal items and implements that she uses for jobs, but they can also serve as this kind of makeshift rudimentary body armor that can literally hold her guts inside her body in some cases as well. And then just very long combat boots that stretch most of the way up her leg. Or, well, her legs, wherever they might be at the current moment. And finally, her hair is it's a very dark, almost ashen gray that tumbles haphazardly around her head and shoulders with very little care put into it whatsoever. And as previously mentioned, her eyes are a very dull, rusty red-brown, at least most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, actually, considering that her other leg is attached, but just was torn through, such that it couldn't be used for a bit, probably now would be a good time to say that the enhancements within Vex's femurs would take effect, where that leg probably would have repaired itself by now, right? So she can at least kind of hop around on one leg while carrying her other one.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, your leg has, the other leg at this point has the various the various esoteric machinery that is part of your femur, the cybernetics and such, have been working away and producing various healing substances and composites, which have been working their way through your system, pulling together your torn ligaments and muscles and stitching them together. The main limitation being that since they're not particularly powerful, it's only ever really been good at fixing pretty much anything from the femurs down. The rest of the body seems to be a little bit beyond it, but giving it some material to work with often tends to be pretty good. It seems to be able to repurpose materials it's given and restructure them. Most likely, you've not really had them looked at before, but you can only gather that they are probably some form of nanite technology or something similar. Of course, maybe you'll get that looked at one day, but who knows? In the meantime, you now at least on one leg manage to balance yourself on various railings and dumpsters and door handles and such as you're going down the streets, and in enough time that it's just a little bit frustrating, you end up at Stitches, the establishment that you are perhaps a little too familiar with at this point, run by Dr. Craven Artori. But you know him as Stitch. Pretty much everyone knows him as Stitch. Do you like... Is that like a back door that you tend to go in through, or do you just kind of come in through the main area?
I think there would be a back door that she, in the early days probably got more used to using. Yeah. So that's kind of the door she uses, yeah. But she still knocks.
It's likely way more useful for you, considering that, like, the back entrance, I imagine, just kind of more directly leads into, like, the operating rooms and such that he uses. Yeah, you kind of stumble in a little bit at this point, and you hear the various shuffling and activity that comes with Stitch having heard you come in, as he rounds the corner into this tiled room with various gurneys and operating tables just discarded in here for storage, and sees you, and he himself, he's a particularly, you wouldn't call him a big man, a big guy. He's like probably average height, like 5'10", but he's a wide set guy. Very scruffy, a lot of stubble. Not ever enough that it's like a full beard, but enough that it is like very notably coloring his face with a 5 o'clock shadow, with just those extra bristles kind of sticking out here and there that make it look ragged. Also, as you are very used to with him, is his very strange and misshapen head, a result of the really gnarly looking wound that he got from some kind of melee weapon that was laid straight into his skull and was patched up fairly poorly by none other than himself, which earned him a rep of some sorts. But yeah, he rounds the corner. He's got his scrubs on, and he goes, "Fucking hell, Vex, can't keep it together for one day."
You know how it is. Sighs and kind of just sits down on one of the tables, and kind of like she literally had like her leg just slung over her shoulder, and she just kind of sets that down.
Yeah, just sit down wherever the hell you want, I guess, as usual. Ugh, I'll get my shit. Couldn't be more convenient to come into one of my operation surgeries or anything.
Yeah, why do you think I show up so much?
He, despite his belly aching, he has made his way out of the room as you're finishing your sentence, and he comes back in with, rather than like any of his normal gear, it's like his transport, like his portable bag of like surgery tools and such. And he comes around. You're sat on one of the old, like slightly wobbly operating tables that's been stored here, and he just quietly gets a stool and sits down, doesn't even say anything, just gestures for you to hand him your leg.
Yeah, she just tosses it to him, yeah.
Yeah, he grabs it and just sets it in place and just takes like one of the big stitching needles that he has and like kind of sets in a couple basically like staples to just keep it like where it's meant to be before he starts like working on it. And he goes,
you know, it's always something fucking different with you. One day it's your leg off, another one your entrails are all over the place. Hell, still remember when you came in here first time.
I'm sure. It is something new every day, though. I've never seen guys actually, like, play catch with my leg almost the way they did today.
Let me guess, Foundling Creed, huh?
Yeah, I ran into him on my way back to, finish the job. But they're not the one who did this. They helped out.
Huh. What, like, collectors, Section C?
Yeah, I think they were the collectors. Almost certainly, considering their gear.
No shit.
Yeah, they were led by some new blood moron. Clearly doesn't get the rules on how things work yet.
Oh, I know the type, yeah. Wouldn't be surprised if I see him in here later. I was about to say fucking feasters, but hey, if it wasn't the Foundling who did this to you, then... fucking spares. Junk. Whatever.
It's always fucking someone.
Yeah, you know all the terms he's throwing out. It's various like derogatory names for the gangs. Stitch is someone that you've become close to, not just because he fixed you up a number of times, including the first time that you really have any memories of being in the city, but because he is one of the very few instances of a staunchly and stubbornly independent person in this city. He, as is evident, has his spot set up in the neutral zone, and he stitches up anyone who shows up, which is likely why he would expect somebody who pulled such a fucking harebrained move as trying to get the drop on a dredge in the middle of an enemy territory. You wouldn't be surprised if she showed up here, just like he expected. But yeah, he kind of in the midst of sewing you up. It's the normal kind of deal. He's not just stitching you up, but also using these various salves and solutions, which are common practice for medical care in the modern age. You remember him telling you at one point the whole deal with this stuff? He was kind of having one of those days where he was just, talking a lot, very clearly, probably been alone for a while. And he said something or other about the pluripotent something cells, some nonsense like that. But he never uses as much as he has to with other people when working on your legs, considering your particular cybernetics that are present there. Yeah, in the midst of sewing you up, there's naught to do but to chat. So he kind of goes,
"Hey, you got the money at least?"
On that note, she would reach into her bag and pull out the other half that she would have gotten.
Well, that's all that matters. All that matters, right?
She nods and hesitates for a moment before, seeming to guess what he's insinuating, and she starts counting out a portion of the money, and Vex always makes sure, right, that, it's not because she's particularly selfless or particularly, you always tip a little extra or something, naive like that. It's genuinely just because she feels like that Stitch, of all the people in this city, earns it, and just she appreciates how often he, how good to her he's been. She always pays him a little more than, what the normal amount would be, which she probably, knows his rates by heart at this point. Okay, attaching a leg, that's probably about this much. And she always So she counts out however much that would be, plus a little more, and would just offer it to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he without even looking grabs the money and just and slings it into the like front pouch on his scrubs that he's got, and he goes, "Much obliged," and has this little smirk on his face. It's always the same smirk as well. It doesn't matter how many times it happens. He's the kind of guy where it's like money is such a important part of what he does that it never gets old to him receiving payment, you know. He kind of finishes up doing some of the stitches on your leg, and he starts giving you a once over, just your entire, just checking for any other scrapes and bruises and stuff like that. And I'll take this moment to say as well, this is going to be a mechanic for the game, because considering that your HP and your abilities are tied to how damaged your body is, right? Which parts of you have been torn apart, blown up, all of that kind of thing. You are going to have to, stitch yourself up every now and then, quite literally. When you come to stitch in particular to get yourself fixed up, there you can basically exchange money for just fixing yourself. So I would like you to please spend one of the favor that you gained, please.
Yep.
And this is in exchange, of course, for it being much faster, because he obviously has all of the tools necessary. You can fix yourself up, but it's usually only your basic parts and one of your complex ones. So you can go home and like stitch on a leg, but the like those special nanite cybernetic femurs that you have, if those got broken, like you're gonna have to come to stitch or maybe even a specialist unless you really put in some time. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no way Vex hasn't learned to, she's learned to patch herself up and take care of herself a lot of the time, but also like she also knows it's stupid to only rely on her own expertise when it comes to reattaching, complex cybernetics that she doesn't fully understand and such.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely usually worth coming to Stitch anyway, because he does a very good job of it, and he has a lot of knowledge of pretty much everything as well, in terms of cybernetics, mutations, all of that kind of jazz. It is definitely worth keeping in mind as well, because there will be... It won't come up immediately, but there is going to be systems in place where the passing of time is important. And, the game state is going to change according to, has enough time passed that things kind of progress. And in those situations, you might want to, pay a little extra favor in order to get fixed up too sweet. He finishes checking you over, and he notices there's a pretty nasty lump on the back of your head, as well as some of your hair is kind of matted with some of the blood there. You hadn't really realized it because you were kind of hopped up on adrenaline, and the pain had kind of just subsided a little bit by the time that you were making your way back. But he kind of looks at it and goes, "Ah, look at that, a nasty head wound. Maybe not nasty, not as bad as definitely not as bad as mine. Just a bad knock. You haven't lost any more memories, have you?"
No, nothing like that.
I always get worried when there's a head wound on you.
It's fine. I probably just scraped it while I was crawling through half the city.
Yeah, makes sense. How's the memory game going anyway? You've been so focused on this whole dredge deal for the longest time. You actually managed to dig up anything new yet?
She waits a moment before responding, closing and then opening her eyes, thinking back to that dream she had just before getting startled awake again, thinking back to other things she's been working on. It's not like I'm not looking, but I mean, doesn't always mean there's something to find.
Sucks for you.
It's whatever. I'll figure something out eventually.
As usual, you ever need any of my services, which you always do, you know where to find me.
I sure do. Thanks, Stitch.
Yeah, no problem.
He waves the wad of cash at you as in like, hey, no thanks necessary when you've been paying me, you know? He has expressed to you in the past. You recall back to like when, you know, at one point you thanked him for one of the first patch ups that he did. And he kind of went,
don't thank me, you're paying me. Only time you need thanks is when there's no money involved, when it's actually like me going out of my way.
And
Yeah.
you kept saying thanks anyway, and he always waves that money stack at you. Could you make me a conversation check?
Yeah.
Give yourself a plus 2 as well.
Oh, that's a 10 then.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you with that conversation check, having a chat with Stitch, with another person, lets you kind of ground yourself a little bit. You feel that adrenaline kind of settle down, the stress, the cortisol kind of recede back into their dispensers in your body, and you feel yourself come back to reality and remember you are a person, not just a killing machine. You may clear a bloodthirst.
Yeah, while she's waiting for, like, because I imagine she has to wait, like, a bit for the repairs to, just set, right?
Yeah.
As she's waiting, she'll reach into her pack amidst crumpled up, loose change and the money she just got and one or two other things. She pulls out a notebook. It's not a very well-made or particularly nice notebook. It's heavily wrinkled, and the leather coverings look like they've been bent and been through quite a bit, but she smooths it out a bit before starting to just flip through its pages, as she's done so many times at this point.
All of it's familiar to you, and as much as there is certain parts that maybe you haven't paid enough attention to in terms of deciphering, at the very least, you have that visual, data bank, that memory of the way all of the pages feel, the way they all, generally look, even if you haven't been able to really understand what some of the stuff says, either by virtue of it being handwriting that you can't make out, or by virtue of being cryptic or equations or something like that. But it's pretty much your only tie to whoever it was that you used to be that's physical, outside of your own body, that is. You often find that you can't help but flip to a particular page which has a structure which it's somewhere between maybe veins, a circulatory system, and kind of like almost like a telephone pole as well. Like, the wires kind of coming out of one of the big poles sticking out of the ground. And it just has labeled next to it is trees. It's got various stuff talking about how it's somehow a living organism, this thing which which roots itself in the ground and draws up nutrients from the earth and grows and lives. And people talk about these things. It's not like it's an alien concept, but like seeing a drawing of it, there's something about it that just, it seems so far away to you, and you keep coming back to that one particular page.
There's one thing I always keep coming back to, Stitch. With the whole, missing memories thing. It's like, obviously the big three aren't the only gangs in the city. They're typically the only ones that end up mattering in the end, but at the same time, I can't remember what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing, but it feels like it was something important. It feels like it was something urgent, you know? At least it was at the time. And I mean, now that I'm finally a dredge and everything, I'm pretty well known throughout the city. I've talked to God knows how many people, seen God knows how many underbellies of that this city has to offer of whatever heinous shit everybody gets up to, but if I haven't found any solid leads, at least ones that are practical to follow up on, then I mean, it just makes you wonder how much more is going on in this city that we just don't even know about.
I got you on that one. Well, between, was it the rejects they of Clay and half the other idiots in this city who are trying to make a name for themselves, all the dwellers who are trying to keep their noses out of things, I'd sooner believe that something is going on that we aren't seeing than something isn't. It's kind of fucking stupid to think that the surface level is all we got.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever told you, actually. I've actually got a couple of gaps in my memory, too.
She kind of, like, looks up from the notebook and frowns a bit. Really?
Yeah. I mean, when you take a cleaver to the skull like I did, it's kind of hard not to have a little bit of brain damage.
You know, I've always thought you were brain damaged.
Yeah, but, normally I try to keep it under wraps. Badly, mind you.
Oh. Your secret's safe with me, don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure it is. You wouldn't be a dredge if you couldn't keep a secret. And it's nothing as drastic as you. I mean, I didn't even go unconscious. I was awake the whole time, getting this stupid fucking thing sewn up, getting a bunch of the gel just slopped on there. By the time I was clear-minded again...
Language, please.
What? You aren't keen on the dirty language?
The way you describe things is always too colorful.
Can't help it. I'm all about slathering my words with character.
Oh, no. She pinches the bridge of her nose.
Look, point is, Vex. I still knew who I was at the end of it. Yeah, maybe it took me a second to remember that it was spelt Arturi with no U, just an O in the middle. The whole thing you said about feeling like there's something important you need to be doing. Man, I feel that. I couldn't get past it. First time I started to really put everything together. You know, initially I didn't even remember who the fuck did this to me. I had just this overwhelming sense that, like, there's something I'm meant to be doing. There's something I forgot. Just little moments of just realizing, like, shit, I lost a day there. Lost another day there. Fuck, where'd I put my keys? All that kind of shit.
Maybe the city just has a way of, making everything a bit more forgettable. Or maybe you're getting old.
Let's not go that far yet. I'm still a spry 55-year-old after all.
Oh yeah, got your whole life ahead of ya.
Sure do. Another... what? At least another 55 if we're being... You know, if we're lowballing it. If I get really lucky, maybe I'll make another 70.
You know, with the way that he's joking about it, like, even the quote lowball estimate of, like, you know, getting to be 110, like, you'd only get to that old if you weren't living in Hope's Rise specifically, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely that sense of, like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get to, like, normal old age in this hellhole, you know?
She just kind of sighs, and at this point she finally stands up, you know, a couple minutes sooner than she's supposed to, of course, testing out the leg, making sure it feels fine. Alright, well.
Yeah, you take care of yourself, but, I ever, now that you mention this whole, now we're back on the whole memory train, you know, whatever you want to call it, Memory Lane? Is that it?
Something like that.
You ever actually, tried chasing up, a info broker or anything? They're hard to get hold of, but probably the best place to go about it. I know you haven't exactly had the time or the cash ever since, ever since you got here up until recently. How long you been a dredge? Like 2 years?
Yeah, around there. I've talked to one or two people that at least, claim to have a lot of information on stuff, but I mean, usually the case is something like, yeah, I want to know, about my past, and they're like, okay, what information do you have on it? Nothing. Oh, well, I can't tell you anything then, it's just, I figured it was just a waste of time.
That sounds about right if it was a gang. They,
If you know any names, though, feel free to drop them. Feel free to let me know.
No, pretty much all the ones that I know are, affiliated with one of the big three. And, I doubt they at Clay don't even have bosses yet. I doubt they've got anyone doing infosec. Let alone, God, can you imagine a fucking They of Clay info gatherer?
They don't even have brains, let alone bosses.
Yeah, bunch of fucking idiots. Rejects is right. No, all the ones I know, it's all because of other, someone comes in from one of the gangs, wants to get stitched up anonymously, and, they try and pay me and, info, stuff like that, but I don't got any grudges, but, I don't know any unaffiliated ones. Any of the ones who, are good enough to keep their noses clean and keep out of any gangs are either keeping their heads low and not able to gather info, or, well, they're a dredge like you.
I'll keep looking for anybody who might know anything. I mean, I haven't even talked to most of the other dredges yet anyway. Not like on a one-on-one anyway. So, it's not like, like I said earlier, it's not like the city will ever run out of secrets. Maybe eventually I'll stumble across mine.
Something turns up eventually. Always does in Hope's Fall.
Take care then.
You too. Try not to get your hopes up.
I never do. And she just heads out. She just audibly rolls her eyes, because he always makes that joke, and just, as she responds and just walks out and starts heading home.
Hey everyone, it's Savvy, at the end of the episode this time because this one was a little too short for an ad break. If you're enjoying the show, please consider supporting me on Patreon for as little as £1 a month. You can find me at patreon.com/eternal_savvy. Once again, that's eternal_savvy. For £3 a month, you can find versions of the episodes with no music, and the more support I get for shows like this, the more of them I can produce. If you would prefer, I also have a Ko-Fi by the same username where you can send me a one-time donation instead. You can also find me on Blue Sky, Twitch, and basically everywhere else with the same name, eternal_savvy. If you're one of the wonderful folks who makes fan art of Heart of Hope, please feel free to @me on Blue Sky, use the hashtag Heart of Hope, or post it in my Discord server, where you can also discuss the game. Last but not least, you can find all of the music and sound effects used in this episode of Heart of Hope in the description of the podcast. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next episode of Heart of Hope. Be there or be elsewhere.